I want to get at Dr. Haggins. I'm going to mention a comment you made earlier as we get into this next question. I want to talk about some of the misconceptions as they relate to mental health across ethnic groups. That's what this panel is all about. And you mentioned something about praying it away, how in the African American community, we, especially in faith-based corners of that community, we hear it's not that deep, you can just pray it away. And I was curious as I started to put this panel together,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, obviously, the African American community is the one that I know the best. Does that misconception extend into other communities? Maybe it's not just me. We all like to tell ourselves this is just me. And I'm curious about whether or not those misconceptions like that one exist in those other people of color communities as well. And if so, maybe how are they the same and how are they different? Maybe other communities say something different about mental health challenges. Let's just open it up to everybody. Talk about your respective communities and what those misconceptions are, and we can kind of share notes and talk about how they're the same and how they're different. Julio, maybe you can start us off.
Yeah, I can share from my experience both as Hispanic male and indigenous, right? There's a lot of stigma and things attached to looking for mental health, especially because it appears to be very distant from something that is easily accessible to all of us. And culturally, and in some of the religious practices, also, it's like, well, if you're connected to God, the Creator, you should get what you need. Luckily, some of those perceptions have been moved in a direction that both of them can coexist and support one another. But I think there is still so much work to do in regards to language, representation, removing historical stigma, and it is a lot more different to look at something that appears to be for upper middle class white people go to therapy because those are the providers as compared to be able to access some services with somebody who identifies culturally, linguistically, and even religiously or uh, practices that are similar to yours, right? Not something that is so detached and removed from your reality day to day.
I want to also emphasize what Julio mentioned, which is that it doesn't have to be an either or. That I think that religion and faith has a really strong role in the healing power of people. In the cultures that I work with, we have shaman, we have pastors, we have faith leaders as well. And I think that we really do want to emphasize that people don't have to give up their faith to go to a therapist or to a psychiatrist or a nurse. In many ways, for us in the mental health professions to understand the meaning that people have and how, from a faith standpoint, one makes sense of the suffering that you have because of mental health can be really, really important. And I will say as well, I've been humbled by seeing some of the healing ceremonies that my patients have gone through and have benefited from as well. So I think my message, again, to really build upon Julio's point is that, you don't have to give up your faith. You don't have to give up those important aspects of your culture to go to mental health treatment. They're both very important, and there are ways that we can walk towards the same goal. We may have different ways of understanding mental health and mental illness, but we can walk together towards the same goal, and we can learn from each other. And this is your life. This is your family's life. We're here to serve. And in that service, it's our task to understand your faith and to integrate that and to help you to live that, even as we apply our understandings of mental health through our education and our work.
really profound. And certainly I didn't mean to imply that you needed to give those practices up. In fact, just yesterday, I interviewed someone who shared his amazing journey of resilience, story of strength and resilience. And I met him first at a faith-based institution here in Sacramento. He was the keynote speaker that day in a church. So I think as time goes on, we're getting better and better at integrating faith and mental health. I don't know that traditionally we've done it as well as we're doing it today, but that's probably the same as a lot of things. We get better as we go along. That's my perspective. I don't know if it's shared by the panel or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I would agree. I mean, I think we are getting better at looking at how to use our spiritual beliefs and faith practices in a way that's complementary to mental health. And I think it's critical, actually. Yeah. I also wanted to speak to what you had raised in terms of treatment and different kind of cultural communities, and to piggyback a little bit on what Julio was raising in terms of seeking therapy from the Black community. People really do wonder, is the person that I'm going to see going to understand me, going to connect with me and my issues? Because there is, and we know in terms of statistics, with psychologists at least, I think we make up 4% in terms of Black folks of licensed psychologists. I think it's maybe 2% of psychiatrists. I may be off in my numbers, but we're below 5%. And so to think about seeking help and treatment when I'm in a state of distress, maybe not very trustworthy, and to go and potentially meet with someone who I worry may not align with my beliefs, makes it really hard, right? It goes back to that stigma piece to want to seek to seek treatment. I think the other thing that can come up too, in terms of seeking treatment, is folks are sometimes concerned about perhaps what they are doing to cope may be taken away, or not be an option, right? Or the idea of their sense of control may be taken away, right? What would happen? Will I be hospitalized? Well, against my will? Will I have to take medication? Will there be ways in which I may potentially be controlled that I don't want? And again, I think as Dr. Ton has brought up, that is not the intention of mental health and behavioral health. It really is meant to support each one of us. But we may have these ideas or realities that we may have experienced historically that don't align with that truth.
Wow. Well, excellent perspective. Thank you for sharing it, Dr. Haggins.